Hello, 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 my friends. Thank you for joining me. I'm Nicholas W. Fuller. I'm your host for Person Behind the Pages, the show where we get to know the people that create the things we love. I'm joined today by Hal Arnold. Hi, Hal. How you doing?
Hi, how's it going? I'm doing good.
Going good. So I met Hal in person with a small little con that our local library does. They call them like the Fandom Con, which is amazing, and I'm very stoked that the library does it. And I was checking it out, and I had my little 2-year-old daughter with me, and we're walking around, and I bought her like a little painting of a dragon, which is up in her room, and that's red. And Hal was there with her science fiction books. Her one book that she has out right now called We Who Paved the Milky Way. And I'm like, well, I need to get this. And we started talking, and I joined your Discord server. I haven't been very active there, but still, it's pretty awesome that you have that. So, but it's nice to be able to talk with you, Hal. I'm excited. A lot of times I don't talk much about process, but I kind of want to talk with you about writing process and stuff this time, because I feel like we're actually kind of in... Not only are we apparently almost next door neighbors, which is kind of amazing, but we're also at similar points in our writing career, in that, early on, I wrote and published one book, self-published many years ago. That one's now a trunk book, because that one was historical fiction, and I want to write some sci-fi fantasy in the future, but you've written one book, and yours is not a trunk book, which is a good thing. But, we're kind of just getting started, and I think it's going to be fun to kind of talk with you about, our process and that sort of thing. But before we get into all that, cat tax. You've got 3 cats, and I want to hear more about. You said that they have a big personality, and we might get to see them tonight, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I have 3 cats. Their names are Shoujo Manga, Mushu, and Auto Potato. Mushu's full name is Mushu Melon Mushroom, for anyone who needs the legal name. um, yeah, I've got one little slinky black cat, that's Mushu, and then Auto Potato is my giant gray and white fluffy one, and then my chubby yellow cat that won't stop finding ways to get into the food. He is Shoujo Manga, which, yes, I do know means girl magazines. It has like a joke behind it.
Nice. That's funny. I love all the names, but Mushu in particular, that's awesome. I have 4 dogs now, and my latest dog we named Mushu. He's this wiry dachshund chihuahua mix, and he has like this funny little mustache, and he's got like kind of that chihuahua attitude where they think they're like tough. So definitely named Mushu from the dragon in Mulan,
It sounds like my cat has the same personality.
Nice. That's amazing. All right, so let's talk a little bit about writing process. How you've got one book out, of course, We Who Paved the Milky Way. Your next book, we were talking a little bit about it. It sounds like it's just about done, but not ready to be released. Is that about right?
Yeah, so it is on its second round edits, and it is coming along fast, but it will probably, unfortunately, there's been a few setbacks, but I'm thinking February, March is now kind of like the month to see it.
Sick. We'll ask you more about, what's coming up, and I want to hear more about that project, because what I've heard so far, it sounds awesome. But what is your process like when let's talk like drafting.
No.
Do you have like kind of a rigorous routine that you try to keep, or is it just, I write when I can? Are you more of like a structured writer, or are you a binge writer where you're like, well, I'm just going to lock myself away for a while and pound out like half the book? Or what is your process? What works for you?
So I know they've got a new word out for like the type of writer I am. It's not a plotter or a panster. They have another word for it, but I can't remember what it is. But I would say I am kind of like somewhere in between. I leave myself kind of like chaotic diagrams all over my house.
Nice. All over, really?
Up my closet doors. Like if I turn this camera around, you would see the words world build filled out in world building information.
I love
I
it.
have notebooks filled. If you look at my TikTok, I have like a couple of things where it shows just like the mass amount of papers I use. I love getting like, I actually brought this because I thought it would be funny. For my current book, I am making a card game that goes with the book because it has a card game inside of it.
What the
This
hell?
is the
I've got like
paper.
that idea for one of my books too. Like, how are we so similar? Okay, go ahead.
This is the paper kind of like I like to use, and I end up like putting crazy stuff and diagrams and all kinds of things on top of it. But it's just like children's paper. Um, as far as how do I actually write, I would say that there's a little bit of plotting mixed with emotional bursts. I would even say sporadic, but whenever I'm feeling the emotion, I just go for that scene.
Bam.
Turn on the right music and I go.
Nice, nice. What's the right music for you? Or does, oh, I imagine it varies per scene, probably. Yeah.
It does. It's funny because like I have I have like a Spotify that if anybody ever asks me to turn on, I'd be mortified because all of my music is so theatrical and not like anything anybody would listen to just relax to.
Sure, sure.
And there's periods of time where for a solid month, if I have to write like these really dark chapters, like in We Who Paved the Milky Way, because it's dystopian. I will listen to like the most dark and depressing music you can listen to and just get in that headspace, and then I'll be able to write the scene. But looking at my Spotify is just an absolute disaster.
That's funny. Yeah, I've listened to like, well, one, I can never listen to stuff with lyrics. The one exception is like the first book I wrote. I actually like my background audio was the Lord of the Rings movies. I would just like play them in the back, and like because their life, like the words are so ingrained in my psyche, it wasn't distracting. But otherwise, like I can't really listen to like music with words. So sometimes like a movie score is okay, but a lot of times it's just like electronic stuff. There's this one 8 hour video that this DJ named Delta Notch made, and it's this just a mix that's 8 hours long, and he calls it like a study mix. But I have used it so much for like
I
work
listen to
and
those
writing.
lo-fi things too. Yeah, I'm a
Right?
big fan.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. That's
If I could
definitely.
just have, my cat has found
I,
a
s-
paper
I
and
hear
he's
you're kidding.
throwing it.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
oh my goodness. He's in a box.
What are you doing,
Um,
kitty?
he's in a box. Here,
I hope he's not ruining your world building.
here he is.
Hey, kitty. Aww.
This is my little mayhem monster.
It's like it's exactly I fits and I sits, right?
This book, this is my heart child. It took me 10 years to write.
Yeah.
I started writing it in middle school. And obviously nothing is left of my middle school
That's awesome.
self in here. But I finished writing it my sophomore year of college. So,
That yeah. Well, I mean, listen, like the first time we take a crack at something, it's going to take a little longer, right? Yeah, it definitely.
yeah.
My first book took me a long, long time to write too, and then the second one took even longer, and that one's still like that one needs a lot of work still, but it'll get
I'm
there.
definitely not a fast writer, but I'll get there.
So that's cool. Like? Do you have any? What do you use to actually write? Like, are you writing probably on a computer? Do you write on one of those crazy like free write things, or what are you using?
So all of the original draft is handwritten.
What? Oh, I'm so
in
jealous. I wish I could do
notebooks.
that.
And then the next part is partially done in notebooks. So, like, for example, how about halfway through writing it, sometimes I'll switch to doing audio recordings to write it. I will be writing in my car while driving, like, obviously not writing, but
Yeah.
and I kind of have the two scripts that I piece together and plunk into that. And then it's kind of fun because since the original draft was written, as I type it up, it's almost like that's the first edit. And then the second edit is when I go ahead and read through. It's chaos, basically.
Yeah.
Is the answer.
That's fun. That is wild. One, like, I've tried writing by hand, and I love the idea. And I'm like, I'm gonna get a nice journal, and I'm gonna get a fountain pen, and it's gonna be beautiful. But it never really works for me, and I think it's because like because I kind of have that, the nice journal, a nice pen. I want it to be like this nice clean draft, and I don't write a clean first draft. It
No,
doesn't
no one
happen,
does.
right? So, yeah. But what I have been doing, like similar to you, I've started doing dictation for the first draft, and I
Mhm.
love because I feel that way I'm more concerned with just getting the story out, especially if I just kind of make myself keep talking, which is super helpful for me in my process sometimes. Like I need a little bit of the stream of consciousness. Um, um, and I'm not so concerned with the spoken word about word choice, like individual word choice. I'm just going and trying to hit the plot beats and that sort of thing, and I can clean it up later. And so I like initially I was like, well, I'll just take the transcript from it, and that'll be like draft one. That is a huge mistake because the transcript, like for me, like the transcript isn't really working out well. It's not. It's never going to get my made up words, and it's not going to get punctuation, especially punctuation with a dialogue. But um, what I
Adding
have
character
started,
names is always really fun.
right,
Um,
right, yeah, yeah,
any,
yeah.
any type of I've got a character. The main character of my next book is Jin Hoda, and watching all the variations of that had me cracking up already.
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but I've just started like listening to my dictation and like typing it up just from listening it, and I found that I'm really liking that process so far. It feels like by the time I have it typed up, I have a draft two, but I never have to start from like a blank page.
Mhm.
So far, I mean, I'm a
So
little
you
early in.
actually have to listen to yourself back. I actually do voice to text rather than that, and I don't have a recording of it. Yeah, that's
Oh,
crazy.
interesting. You don't.
I don't
Okay.
think I could listen to my own voice for that long. I drive myself crazy enough while editing my TikToks since it loops while you're editing.
That I feel is so much worse. I've like had the little like the oh my god, like because it's the same thing in like a short clip, and you hear
Not fun.
right, right. Oh man,
Mm-mm.
that's funny. That's wild. Like how similar our process is, though. That's really so. What about your editing process? For me, like I feel like I do not have a handle on an editing process yet. I'm still trying to discover what's gonna work, but what is working for you?
It's strange because I always complain to people that I hate the editing process, but
Mm-hmm.
I I think I actually don't. I do editing in part for a living. I lead a marketing team, so part of what I have to do is edit everything that comes through, and I do have kind of like a writing concentration background and a couple of other types of like certifications. So with that, I do kind of like some heavy, intense editing
Mm-hmm.
that tears it apart the first time,
Mm-hmm.
but also I kind of can't stop writing while I'm editing. So I end up adding a lot
Mm-hmm.
more. So honestly, my first edits almost feel like just another set of writing process. Sometimes I'm technically through my first edits. I'm like, yeah, I'm still writing it. When that's not supposed to be the case, but do I think it makes it better? Probably.
Oh, there you
Um,
go.
yeah, and
So it's
then
worthwhile.
I guess just as far as editing goes, I drink a lot of water. Sometimes I do sprints, editing sprints, where I see literally how many hours in a day I can edit for, usually on the weekends, and I just do as much as I can.
That's
Do you have
sick.
a process?
No. No, for editing I have no process yet. I'm like I said, I'm still very much trying to figure out like what's gonna work for me. I will tell you, I've actually started meeting up for like a year and a half now. Wow, started meeting up with three other writers locally on Saturday mornings,
Mm.
and with like it's pretty much a critique group. It didn't necessarily start with the intention of being like a critique group. We were just like, well, we all want to write. We can talk about resources, but now it's pretty much a critique group. But it is great. They have made me a better writer, and they because we've been doing it for a while now. They I have this really terrible habit of like saying, and then this happened or whatever,
Mm.
and I'll just say it like that. But then I'll kind of like show it. I will show it in the writing much better after I just say the thing. So Dana in my group is like, Nick, you're doing it again. And just get rid of where you're like saying that shit and just leave it just where you have it showing after, because it's so much better. You don't need to state it beforehand. You're doing a good. Yeah, I'm like,
There's
thank
a
you,
lot of people that
thank
do
you.
that. That's a
Right.
common critique.
Well, what's great about it, especially with help of someone helping me identify it, it is an easy fix, because usually it's just, well, delete the stupid sentence that doesn't need to be there, and the rest is actually good, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So
I'm really bad
that,
about switching tenses.
oh,
That is
really?
probably my worst thing out of all of them, especially because this book is not
Mm-hmm.
the same tense as the other book, and
Mm.
sometimes I write them side by side.
Oh, wow, wow.
So, so then I'll have first person suddenly, and then third person, and it just becomes a disaster.
Seems like that should be a disaster that's not too hard to untangle, though. So hopefully,
That is true.
hopefully.
I am lucky with editing to some degree because I have somewhat of a background in it.
Yeah, yeah. You also, like I mentioned in the opening, you have your Discord group, and I think you just opened up being able to find like critique partners and that sort of
Yeah.
thing on there. So are you working with like some critique partners online, or?
I will soon. We reopened the dates because we had a big surge of new members, and we wanted to make sure we were kind of like grouping them with the right people. And so with that, we're going to regroup them and then put them in. But I did put my name in for one of the
Nice.
critique groups, so I will be grouped. And I'm hoping that I can get some romance tips. Um, it's funny. Everyone who reads the romance is like, "Oh my gosh, you're doing great!" But every time I go to write it, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I've never done anything like this before. I'm usually in outer space. What's happening?" It's a different other world for me.
That's funny. Yeah. You just got to throw in like her eyes looked like planets.
I think maybe you're safe in the sci-fi world.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. I should stick there.
Maybe people will be telling me that soon too.
That's pretty good. So, what about also? What are some of your favorite like writing resources? Any like particular? Maybe. Oh, you got something. What is it?
So, first off, I want to say the Discord because actually there you can get any writing source resource you want. You can speak with pretty much any other type of writer. So, if anyone wants to join the Plot Thoughts, that is the Discord. And if you go to my bio at any of my socials at Hal Arnold Author, you'll be able to find it there and join our writers group. So that is definitely something you can do if you're interested in that. However, recently the resource I've been using that I have gotten from a friend in the group has been for my romance writing. I have never had to write anything spicy in my life before.
Mhm.
But this book will have some spicier scenes, kind of to appeal to romance fans. And
Sure.
the resource I have been using is called the Sexy Thesaurus. And it is
Oh
the
man.
end all be all for writers who are trying to write spicy scenes. And I have basically been living off of that for the last few days, trying to perfect my scenes because that's where I'm at in my editing right now. But yes, a very funny question. Typically, I would not want to tell anyone that, but it's the one that comes to mind.
That's pretty funny. I feel like that is definitely a an art in and of itself, especially yeah, trying I mean, you could just say, his junk or whatever, but yeah, trying to get a little bit more artistic about it can be nice, but also is very fraught. Like um there's this writer, Mary Robinette Kowal, who also has done audiobook narration, and she's like, I actually had to say she released his love snake from its denim prison,
I
and
don't think you
like
have to
I
say that. I think you can say something else. There's
no,
other
but she was she
We
was
need
she
a
was
we need a
narrating
sexy
she was
thesaurus.
she was narrating somebody else's book, and that's what was in the
Oh,
book.
it wasn't hers.
It wasn't her. Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah. So
that's
like,
a
so she
huge.
actually had to say that, or she wasn't gonna finish doing. It wouldn't be a proper audiobook narration. Like, yeah, yeah.
I don't ever want to make my audiobook reader have to do that.
Right, right, yeah, yeah.
Thankfully my
No,
terms are better
n-
than that.
right. That's funny. Sexy Thesaurus. I kind of want to look it up. Just to is it like a website or is it an
It
actual
is,
like
and it
book?
actually has three different tabs that you go through for different levels.
Oh,
Um,
like okay, okay, all
and it's
right.
pretty funny, like going through it. Sometimes, like
You
I
know
was
what?
sitting there, and the author of it themselves, they crack me up because at the beginning they're like, okay, or at the end of one of them, they're like, okay, I'm blushing now. I can't write anymore, and then they just hit off screen. They just were done with it for the day.
That's pretty funny. What? All right, we're doing this, Hal. We're doing this. What's the website?
The Sexy Thesaurus is just the name of it, I think. Or no, if you type it in, you'll get the rest of it. I don't know if I can send you links, or I would.
Yeah, there's a chat.
Okay, I got you. There you go.
I knew this. Lauren Clark. All right, all right. I see this. Wait, is this the? Is she on Instagram?
I'm not sure. She's very
There's
funny.
some let me see. Laura Clark, is it?
Some of the words I have no idea how I would use, but they make me very happy to look at. Like gossamer. Like that one
Nice,
just
nice.
cracks me up.
No, I don't know if this is the but there's an audiobook narrator that's on Instagram and she tends to like narrate romance and spicy romance. And so like all her reels are just like her being like there was one recently where the character like one character is saying being a hot wife is not just about being hot and a wife, and like the wife is like, well, what else would it be about? And the narrator's doing this recording a video, and she's like, what else does it mean? And she like googles it. Oh, oh, like it was,
Oh
yeah.
no.
So, well, this has been pretty fun. Hal, tell us all what's next for Hal Arnold. I know you got a couple different things lined up, so tell us about them.
Right. So, I guess the next big thing is that I'm going to have my new book out. It doesn't have the title released, but it is going to be a sci-fi romantic comedy about a chaotic crew of time traveling pirates who basically
What?
like to steal things across space and time. And basically, the big idea of it is that the main character, Captain Jin Hoda, she gets kidnapped by the Time Corps, which are kind of like the time police, and they lock her in a timeless zone where she is imprisoned with another person who ends up using her help to get out and then blackmails her to help him save the universe. So it's basically like a rogue pirate who is forced to help save the universe and she doesn't want to. Um, and then this
What?
forced
Okay,
proximity brings
awesome.
them together. But kind of think of like Pirates of the Caribbean mixed with like Douglas Adams style humor mixed with like Daughter of the Pirate King, and then some spice. So there's a little bit of romantic spice there.
Yeah. I usually I keep things a little bit more G, but do you know the meme? I can only get so erect like when you're saying Douglas Adams humor and like Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh my god, like this sounds absolutely amazing, and I yeah I need this book. I need this book.
I need it too. I am very excited. It should come out in February or March.
Yeah,
In the
unless Zelda gets in
meantime,
the way.
I think next year sometime I will be. They're finishing the process for this comic book that I'm going to be in, and it is otherworldly themed with Tales of Cape Fear. And I have a sci-fi story in this collection, in this comic book collection, that will be about a girl who is on an ice planet fighting a monster, and maybe a village gets destroyed, and it's really fun and exciting.
Maybe. That sounds cool. That's and like yeah, in comic format. How neat is that? That's pretty rad. And then I guess in addition to both of those things, you're also going to be starting a podcast, right?
I am. So that is something that's coming later. I am looking for indie authors who want to present themselves just like me. I'm starting with the Discord, but very, very soon, and if you want to be in it, of course, you can just join the Discord. But very, very soon, I'm going to be bringing it to other platforms for people to come and join as well.
Wow. Super cool. More books, more comics, more podcasts, doing all the things.
Yep.
Pretty impressive, Hal. Pretty cool.
Thanks.
All right. Well, Hal, this has been super fun. I've enjoyed talking to you. I didn't realize we had so much in common, but you're absolutely right. It's just because we're sci-fi nerds and we're all cut from the same cloth. But still, no, it's been great chatting with you. Thanks for being on.
That's been great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And if you, dear listener, if you liked this episode, then please throw me a like, give me that rating, leave a comment, rate us on the podcast, all those fun things. And yeah, if no one's told you today, you're an absolute legend.